Only the toughest of beards will be tested.
Commence time machine.
Get your shave stick today and enjoy the evolution of your daily routine and notice the new smoothie you.
Hello!
Happy Sunday, July 5th.
Happy July 5th.
So first, I'm Greg Potter.
I am Dina Nina Martinez.
And you are listening to D&G Live.
D&G Live.
Some Sunday in July.
Yes, the 5th.
Okay, so before we get started on everything, I have to ask you something.
Yes.
So when are we traveling to the multiverse with that music that you added in this week? And when does Kylie Minogue come in and sing a beautiful ballad to us?
This is my favorite thing. I can't wait to travel in multiverses with Kylie Minogue singing to our intro song now. It's going to happen tomorrow.
With Greg and Dina and Greg.
Kylie Minogue, yeah.
I'm really realizing I need to get rid of the Corona dew and actually go get a haircut.
I mean, I don't know if anybody can see how white every place but my bang piece is. How gray. It's just. So I was watching.
You've been showing people close up with the camera lately. Anyway, so you were watching.
It's been really.
So don't Marco Polo with it. That's all I got to say.
I just Marco. Anyway. I just let it all hang out when I'm on the polo.
Almost literally last week.
Almost literally.
Dina tells me, oh my gosh, I just had to delete a polo.
Because I didn't know if I showed.
She likes the polo in the nude.
I just polo because when I'm in bed, which is naked all the time.
And the camera slipped.
And the camera slipped, and I was like, "Oh my god, did it show my boobs? Did it show my cooch? I don't want to share that with anybody."
But we did not have a penis and pinwheel situation.
Thank the gods.
So yes. Anyway, how was your week? What's going on with you?
It was great. Let's go to split screen. How about this? That's not what I want to do. This. Hi, Greg.
Oh, we learned that Dina can't handle my short torso. I'm 6'1", people, but I have all legs and I'm a short torso. So when we sit next to each other, I look like I'm shorter than her.
I don't have a problem with it. It's just always so jarring every time we sit down next to each other, and he's like so much shorter than I am because my torso is longer and his is shorter. He's like. Never mind.
What did you do this week?
What did I do this week? I don't know. Like, I meditated most days. I burnt my thumb. I don't know if you guys can see.
I have a thumb wound too.
What is that about?
I played tennis for the first time in a while, and I got a blister from the tennis racket.
So I was in the office cooking something, and then the little pan in the toaster oven slipped, and I tried to grab it, and that's what happened to my thumb. And you were playing tennis. Ooh.
In the hot.
It's
heat.
So hot.
We're in a heat wave here in Madison, Wisconsin.
We are, and I hate it.
So
real quickly, if I can just remind everybody that you can get 25% off your CBD shave stick, and you can use the code 10% buyer to get 10% site-wide on Verdure CBD, and we want to thank them for sponsoring us.
Thank you.
Thank you for being CBD. You're welcome.
That was almost a lawsuit. Anyway, the one thing that I want to talk to you about was, how did you handle the 4th of July yesterday? Because for me, it was really hard to participate in. The idea that we have done some great things as a country, a lot of great things, but yeah, we're still a major work in progress. And so I felt like, for me, it was like when I get to a fight with a family member or one of my closest friends, that it's as if I just can't do you right now. But I liked the fireworks last night.
I hate fireworks. I have a big issue with fireworks because I have a dog who gets freaked out by loud noises, obviously, and I just don't. I don't.
Well, my dog was tucked away in the deep, deep.
Deep.
And then I held her tightly after the fireworks when we got home off the boat.
Good. Oh.
So I was up north yesterday hanging out with some family, which was a whole, every time I leave the house, it's very weird. Like I get all full of anxiety, and especially this last week I went and got a test, but I didn't get the test result yet because in Dane County we have the National Guard. You can drive through and get tested for COVID. And I hadn't received it yet, and my family would just come up, and so anyway, that's where we're at. But
I need to do my test because I haven't yet.
So I put in here, I have hope. Can I
tell me the story? Let me
everyone, I'm gonna hopefully give you a little hope on this Sunday evening before we get into the funny haha stuff and the serious stuff that happened. So I got into a big conversation with a drink in hand, floating on an adult floaty in the water yesterday with a close family friend, and we were talking about because I believe 2020 it has sucked, but it's needed to suck. We need to go through this transition. We have a huge, beautiful opportunity to change, and I'm very optimistic about it. Well, our family friend was like, "I'm glad that you do that because I don't have that optimism. I'm worried that because no one will change." And then driving back to Madison today, I was thinking, why do I have this optimism? So I stopped and got gas, and I was sitting there and I had a bite, and I was just thinking about this in this parking lot. And I watched these two who I believe identified as male, younger gay boys come in. There was two cars parked, I'm parked here and there's two cars parked here. And so the one comes and opens the door, and the other one gets a bag or something, like a sleeping bag and blankets out of the back. And then the parents of the one, I realize what's happening to me. I'm like, oh, the boyfriend had a sleepover with the boyfriend, and they're meeting to pick them up. And I'm like, oh, this is so cute. And as I'm sitting there and getting this gift to observe this moment, which was so beautiful, I'm like, oh, this is where my hope is. My hope is in this moment, because when I was their age, I'm guessing they were 17, 18, 19. When I was their age, this would not be possible, at all. And on top of it, we're in a small town, Toma. I'm in Toma at this time, which is a small, in the middle of the state. And the one, it was, from what I could tell, it was a Caucasian boy and a queer boy of color. And they were able to kiss openly. And it was it gave me so much hope and love and filled me to be able to see that moment. And, and it's horrible because I was just a fly in the wall, but it's beautiful. And I'm like, okay, if I could see that in my lifetime, I can see us getting into an even larger space in an equitable place in this country in my lifetime. This is happening. And so that's where my hope is from today.
I love it. I will say that I have hope too. And I have hope because people are seeking inside. They're looking inside. They're looking at spirituality. I think more than I've ever, I've never heard so many people talk about spirituality.
Right.
And it's been pretty cool. Pretty cool. It's been pretty cool. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my hope.
I like it. I like that you have hope. And because we have hope, I would like to play a little video. My friend is a nurse on the East Coast, and she sent me a bunch of pictures of the nurses that are masked and are on the front lines. And I wanted to play that little video right now, if you'll be okay with that. And that's what I thought. It was fun.
That was cute.
Thank you.
And thank you to all our healthcare workers as you continue to be there for all of us. And and as the waves continue throughout the rest of the country, because they're happening.
They're happening.
So I'm going to jump into the news update with that said.
Jump into it.
Did you hear Mexico closed the border this week to Arizona because they did not want the riffraff Americans going into Mexico from Arizona for the holiday weekend?
That's pretty, sorry, okay. That's pretty awesome. Finally. I think that's such a great turn of events. Also, just on a somber note, there was a car that pulled into, ran over a couple of protesters in Seattle. 2 protesters, one has since deceased. The other one is still in the hospital with, injuries. So we are sending love to those people. And this world, it just keeps getting better and better.
I have another coronavirus update. Herman Cain, as many of you probably saw, is in the hospital with COVID. And I wish him health, but I'm not going to ignore the irony there. So, keep rallying without masks on, Trumpers.
Trump also said, now we have tested almost 40 million people. By doing so, we show cases, 99% of which are totally harmless, results that no other country can show because no other country has testing that we do. Not in terms of the numbers or in terms of the quality. And I'm just like, come on. Like, I don't know about you, but I know that's a flat out lie.
Remember the beginning of this when he wouldn't let the cruise ship into the San Francisco Bay because he didn't want his numbers to go up? That feels like so long ago.
It feels like so long ago. An incredible amount of things have happened since then.
What was that word?
Incredible.
I loved it.
I love incredible.
Cool. So our Democratic person, my words just left me. Anyway, who we've nominated to lead the Democratic Party to be president, Mr. Joe Biden, this week announced that he wants to support that. What was the exact verbiage? That we need to support, should protect the Columbus, Washington, and Jefferson statues. I am open to hearing I am open to hearing arguments on why Washington, Jefferson, but Columbus, I mean, he's just so tired.
Right?
He's like tired, like you're tired.
It's true. Like every day I get out of bed and I'm like, I'm tired. Yeah, tired. I agree.
And this last thing I have for news this week was China changed their new legislation, went into effect, and with Hong Kong protesters all protesting wanting democracy, that went in effect in Hong Kong over basically in like 48 hours, has changed dramatically. And a lot of love from me to everyone. Like, it's not a pretty sight. And also it's good to remember like how some countries are led, and that, we still are in this democratic fight to get equality and equity. And so perspective, I guess, is what I'm saying. But I'm not saying it very well because my tired ass. I apologize.
I mean, I don't have...
Thanks for listening to the show.
I don't have all the best words today. But now it's time for... Sochi. Oh. So, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You go for this.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say that my new favorite TikTok is at hi.this.is.tatum. That account is so good, and it's this guy who, what you guys have been telling me to do forever, but he does it with his dog, and he talks over his dog, and it's so funny. It's not the same as me, but it's so funny.
It's okay. We've been hounding Dina that she needs to start like publishing these conversations she has with her dog Gertie, because they're genius.
They're so good. Like I can. Well,
it's time to start. This is a sign that it's time to start. Okay, I'm gonna go now, but I'm gonna say something that we did not put on here. Dina got retweeted by Eric Dane this week by McSteamy.
No, he followed me.
Oh, well, that's still fantastic.
It is still fantastic.
You didn't include this in this at all.
I didn't include it because it wasn't about me. But Eric Danes McSteamy follows me on Twitter now. Oh, so it's more incentive to be on Twitter.
Okay, so my big associate this week was one of my favorite movies from the 90s is getting remade. Have you heard about this?
No, maybe?
Death Becomes Her.
Oh, no!
There's a rumor that Death Becomes Her is going to get remade. And so Goldie Hawn's daughter, Kate Hudson, is going to star in it with Anne Hathaway will play Meryl Streep's part. Robert Downey Jr. will play, what's his name?
Yeah.
Bruce Willis's part. And then Lady Gaga will play the Temptress with the serum, the like youth serum.
I am obsessed!
Right? Like,
oh my God, that's so good. I'm pretty sure everyone's heard this now, but Kanye, yay, is running for president. And also he got trolled by Tiffany Haddish saying, "We must now realize the promise of America by trusting God, unifying our vision, and building our future. I too am running for president of the United States." Oh yeah. And then she posted, "Well, this just in, Dave Chappelle will be my running mate. I'm all in. I will vote for Tiffany Haddish in a motherfucking heartbeat." That's my words.
And wait, if Kanye is running for president, does Trump lose his one black voter?
There's two.
Oh, Herman Cain. Not of course. Never mind. That's rude. So Newsweek this week tweeted a picture from the Soul. Why did I say Soul? The Soul Aquarium. There's a female shark there that was very upset with her male, the male shark in the aquarium, and so she ate him. I think we have a lesson to learn from this.
And that is,
if you keep pissing the women off, they're going to just eat.
We're going to eat you. And then this is one of my favorite posts from my friend Lalita D. She said, "I think of men the way I think of overhead lights. Just because they exist doesn't mean you have to turn them on." So follow Lalita D. She's amazing.
And my last one was, oh my gosh, where did it go? In Brazil, they created a hug tunnel. What do you think a hug tunnel is?
What's a hug tunnel, Greg?
A hug tunnel is not anything dirty that you're thinking about. It is a way that you can meet with your loved ones, like your parents that are in nursing homes or Alzheimer's dementia homes. You can meet with them and you can hug them in this tunnel that they can take you through. And it's like an incubator with in the ICU for infants. Like it's like that. Those
so you
arms.
have to hug them through plastic.
So they have the plastic arms, and you have plastic arms.
That's
and you
so
can
good.
hug them. So Brazil, thanks for being your ingenuity.
That is also the future of sex during COVID-19. Thank you very much. I have two last things, and they're from TikTok. One is Avenue Beat released a song this week that I shared with y'all. And it's called Fuck 2020 or Low Key Fuck 2020. And it is so brilliant. I love it. And then my final thing is now their TikTok showed a Wisconsin couple that were on a boat, and this bear had a jug on its head, and they were scooching up next to him trying to get and he kept getting scared, but they finally got the jug off the bear's head, and so it now lives life free of a jug of water around their face. And
I mean, also, why was that bear in the middle swimming out that far? Do bears like to swim like that?
Well, it had something on its head, and it was probably trying to get to the other side, and it was like, oh my God, I'm drowning in water in a jug. How do I get out of this? It was so cute and so sad at the same time.
It's really cute when they get it off, and the bear's so happy.
It is so cute. All right, what is next?
What you watching?
Oh, well, hang on. What you watching, Greg?
Okay, well,
geeked out on the video graphics this week, so I'm very excited.
Well, the big thing is that Hamilton came out on Disney Plus this week, but I don't have Disney Plus. Thank God I've seen Hamilton before, but I am ready to watch it on Disney Plus. So I'm going to be stealing someone's password.
Good,
soon.
good. So I have been watching Self-Made on Netflix with Octavia Spencer.
Oh, I watched it.
Madam
I
CJ
watched it a
Walker.
while ago.
I'm just watching
Sorry.
it. Wow.
It's fantastic.
It's so good. And Tiffany Haddish is in it. And oh my God, I love it.
Octavia Spencer doesn't go wrong. Like her parts, I mean, she rocks it.
Yeah.
She's
so incredible.
Been nominated and won an Oscar. And
Right.
although there's been a couple times I think she's deserved more nominations, but
Agreed. 100%. Everything she do. Sorry.
That was fantastic. Okay, I got gay before we ended Pride Month, and I watched a little show called Elite. Have you heard of Elite? It is a private school in Spain, and it's about these private school high schoolers that act like. I have this weird fascination in movies or shows where the high schoolers act like they're full-blown adults, and they're like making these decisions. And so in this series, they're very rich preppy students who make crazy adults, kind of like Cruel Intentions, but more gayness, more gay characters, and in Spain with subtitles.
I love gay in Spain. That's perfect. I also finished watching Last One Laughing Australia. It just wrapped, just finished airing the final episode. Man, that's crazy. It's on Amazon. And I think I talked about it before. So Rebel Wilson is the host of it, and they have all these comics from Australia, and they're competing for the last one laughing. So they're in this room doing all this crazy shit to each other to get a laugh out of someone. And it devolved like nobody's business. So
what is that on again? Because I think I need to
Amazon.
Okay.
It was really interesting. I loved it. I was like, I'd be the first one out, period. I love laughing. I'm an easy laugh. I'm easy.
I wanted to talk about this a couple weeks ago, but I was going to give a spoiler away, and I could not do it. So I'm finally talking about it. If you've not watched the last season of Insecure, if you have not watched Insecure in general, you need to watch it. Issa Rae's show, brilliant. And right from the get-go, especially for white folk, they need to, like, it's a great example of kind of like with Little Fires Everywhere, with like there should be a conversation after each episode of like, why was what was going on through these coworkers' heads, and why did she act that way, and anyway, but it's evolved so much into such a brilliant show. And I thought Issa and Molly were not going to be friends anymore, but thankfully by the end they become friends. And I'm so grateful. And my anxiety, when your anxiety goes up for a TV show, it was way up there. But I'm not going to tell you anything else about the season finale, but it's good.
Always on Grey's Anatomy. I feel the same way. I can't wait for it to start again. So I've been watching a lot of Unsolved Mystery, or watched all of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix. It's a Netflix reboot of Unsolved Mysteries. It's so good. And then my final thing was Under the Skin. I've been watching the Russell Brand video podcast, Under the Skin, like nobody's business. And he talked to Eckhart Tolle and to Brene Brown. And I'm just like, I'm in this like knowledge seeping mode right now.
And Russell Brand is brilliant. If you haven't read Revolution by Russell Brand, people out there, I really recommend it. Like he is, and also like you can just Google moments where hosts and newscasters have like been schooled by him, because they always Mika on Morning Joe, that's my favorite one, is when he came on there and she thought he was going to be funny and do all this goofy stuff. And he's like, I'm here to talk about this and this and this. And she just like, her jaw drops. And she's like, oh, like, we're not going to laugh.
Like, oh, you're going to be smart.
Anyway.
I loved it. So that has been What You Watching. And yeah, I'm really excited. Our next guest for today is, I love her so much. She's my heart. She is the author of You Can Be Perfect or You Can Be Happy. I may have said that backwards on something, so I apologize if I said you can be happy or you can be perfect, whatever. Anyway, So lots of things. So we're getting to her in just a moment. I'm so excited. I'm going to add her into the stream right now. Are you ready?
I have been waiting all week for this.
I love it.
Hi.
Hi, Karith Foster.
Hi, love. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm not like super camera ready. I'm a holiday weekend Karith right now.
Oh,
You know how there's like, you know, there's professional Barbie and then there's like veterinarian Barbie. This is like holiday weekend Karith.
Yeah.
No eyelashes.
I love that you said this because I walked in, I was like, I was in a tank top and I decided to change because I did not want to do that to Karith.
You're so sweet. I have a bra on still for you.
You're so fancy.
I have no makeup on and I have all these pimples. It's like I'm 13 again.
I can't even see them. I can't even. You look great, girl.
I am so happy to have you on. First of all, I miss you and I love you so much.
Aww.
We grew up in the same area of Texas, so we had a lot of clicking. And this book, I started reading it, and it's such a good book.
Thank
I
you.
haven't finished it, I will admit. But what made you write this?
So, I mean, the beginning of it was honestly just having a friend say the words to me, you can be perfect or you can be happy, Karith. The choice is yours. And it happened during a time when I was really stressed. I had just had my first daughter. I was freaking out. I was, I think any new parent kind of is like, what the hell am I doing? Am I going to keep this person alive? And I've always been a perfectionist. I mean, my whole life. And that's really what those words made me realize was that, it wasn't just that moment where I was trying so hard to be perfect. It had been a pattern in my life for so many years. And I think that like just understanding and grasping that there was really no such thing as perfection, yet the drive to be perfect was robbing me of so much. It was robbing me of peace, of joy, of clarity, of happiness. And so I'm like, I can't be the only person that needs to hear this. So this book is really a giant note to self.
Go ahead.
So as we are talking more about the book, I just want can you let our listeners know where they can find it? So
absolutely. I'm sorry to do this to everyone. And I'm not sorry, but it's just one of the things that just to get it out there. So it is only on Amazon right now. The plan though is for it to expand to, local bookstores and that kind of thing. But I did go through Amazon publishing to make it happen, and so it could be on Kindle instantly and hard copy. But the good news is when you do buy the book, you're supporting a Black author, and so
yes.
And you do not have to apologize about it being on Amazon. That is a great way to get it out there. Mm-hmm. So, and almost everyone can order it on there. Yes, Amazon is whatever, but I'm glad that you're on there.
Well, thank you. I'm just afraid, like with everything since COVID-19, right? I just feel like we're getting closer and closer to WALL-E. You remember the movie WALL-E? Yes. Where everything's on a screen, nobody goes anywhere, and we're like humongous because I personally have like gotten the COVID. I think COVID-19 is for like how many pounds you've gained since it started. That's what the 19 stands for. That's the average weight.
It's COVID 45 for me.
Oh my gosh.
Soon to be COVID 53.
Where are those donuts?
I ate a whole a box of donuts all by myself in like a heartbeat because I'm like,
Nobody hates you for that though, Dina.
Listen, we are all dealing. I saw somewhere that like Paxil, they ran out of Paxil. I'm not even kidding. And I'm like the most natural person you'll find. Like I had both my kids in water. I use essential oils. But listen, I don't. There's no shame in anybody's game who needs to, that help. But that was also another reason why I wrote this book because I think it is a serious injustice for us to think that we're supposed to be happy all the time. Like that is the caveat. Yes. You can be perfect, you can be happy. It sounds like I'm giving you the choice of being one or the other. Well, the reality is perfection doesn't exist. So choose happy, right? But here's the caveat to happy. It is not constant. We're not supposed to be on all the time. We're not supposed to be high all the time and happy and life is great and amazing. And if you're not in this area with me, then something's wrong. And like, I'm so tired of people comparing themselves to others and thinking that, like, you know, looking at the Instagrams and the Facebooks and thinking that something's deficient in their world. Because, you know, you're only seeing people putting their best face forward, right? Posting that perfect little picture. Like, you don't, you know, it looks like this gorgeous beach and this, you know, exotic location. And like, you know, 3 feet to the left is a dumpster. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see that part of it. And yet we will see it and internalize it and take it to mean that, like, we've done something wrong. We've messed up. Like, why isn't our life as incredible as this other person? And you know, we don't know what's going on in their life. We don't know what's going on outside of that picture frame. And so this book is really about personal responsibility. Like, if I had to really, like, it's full of really wonderful tips. And I hope for many people, it's one of those books you just open up and you read what you need to for that day to get through. Like, you get that encouragement, you get that support. But it's also, you know, the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener when you water your own lawn. So you have to take care of yourself. And that's the biggest message I try to drive home is, you know, yes, you need to be a kind person, especially in the day and age where we are, where we see so many people who aren't kind, who are treating others poorly because they love differently or they're in a different package. But the reality is, you know, take care of yourself, care for yourself. And when you have that self-love, when you understand your value and your worth, then you can see it in someone else. Mm-hmm. So I think we've been going about this whole trying to fix the world and this diversity stuff the wrong way. It needs to come from the inside out. We've been trying to work from the outside in. And that's a big part of the work that I do. So.
Agreed with that. Definitely starting from the inside. As you wrote this book, I mean, obviously you knew a lot of what you were writing about, but I imagine you still had some beautiful transition and aha moments and growth moments. What were one of those as you were writing it?
Oh, I did. I mean, listen, I'm not even coming at this like I'm the expert. I know all about getting to your happy with no hiccups and my life is great. No, it was a learning process and it was a development process and it's a practice. You know, you ever hear them call yoga a practice? Right? They don't call it yoga perfect. It's practicing, right? You're practicing to get into those moves. You're practicing to stretch your limbs and your muscles just a little bit more every time. And so, you know, writing this book, this was my first like big book. I've written one before, but that was more of almost like an accoutrement to a program I had called Laugh Your Way to Happiness. And I just realized it's everything is a process, but to not beat yourself up along the way, which I think so many of us do. You know, we are our own worst critics. We got enough critics out there, right? We don't need to add to that.
Amen. Amen to that. So one of the things that I love is how you set up where you grew up. You grew up in Plano, Texas.
Yeah.
I went to college in Plano, Texas, and some of my friends graduated probably around the same time that, well, maybe quite a few years before you did. But the pressure to be perfect is really great there. And you talk about what happened as you were growing up when you were in high school. And I remember that so clearly. Would you mind talking a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Plano, for those of you who've never heard of it or been, is a really affluent suburb north of Dallas. It's actually in North Dallas. And when I was growing up, you know, my mother and I used to always joke, it's not how you feel, it's how you look. Like, you know, do you have the right outfit on? Are you, you know, and your guests and your esprit? I'm dating myself. You know, are you driving the Lexus? Do you have the pool in the backyard? Like, is your house immaculate? And it's so much surface stuff, right? So much surface stuff. And when you have that pressure in combination with affluence and probably a lot of kids with a lot of time on their hands, you get people who are feeling deficient. And so what do you do when you're deficient? You find ways to fill yourself up. And for a lot of people, it was through drugs and alcohol. And there were a lot of people who had depression, who had anxiety. And I was one of those people. You know, there were not many Black people. I have a joke in my act about growing up in Plano and it having the ethnic diversity of a Klan rally. And I love that y'all laugh. You want to hear something really funny? So I'll usually get a laugh on that. And I'll say, I'm so glad y'all laughed because I told that joke in Alabama and they applauded. And I was frightened, but that's not true. I actually, sorry, Alabama. I got applause for that joke. You want to know where?
Where?
New Jersey.
Really?
40 minutes outside of New York City. They applaud. I go, I broke the fourth wall. I go, I'm sorry. Are you applauding the Klan? I go, should I be concerned? They're like, no, we like you. I'm like, okay.
What if you didn't like me? Like,
right? I didn't want to go there. So I still was like, I think I need someone I know walk into me to my car after the show. But so, that was just an added thing for me growing up in Plano where it was not very diverse. It wasn't. That I was the only Black person in any of my classes. 1,200 people in my graduating class from high school. 12 of us were Black. Like we were part of the 1% before we knew of a 1%, right? A funny story is, I was always into theater and broadcasting and that kind of thing, entertainment. My senior year of high school, I was in an all-white production of the play A Raisin in the Sun.
Shut up.
Swear to God.
I always thought that was like an urban myth that would really happen. Oh my God.
But see, so I took it as like they're trying, like, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to bring culture and diversity into a very homogeneous like environment. And so there was pressure there, not fully fitting in and wanting to and feeling like, you were just kind of odd man out. But that's what I realized as I got older is that everybody has had that experience at some point in time in their life. You know what I mean? Whether it was because of, their sexuality or their socioeconomic status or the religion that they practice, everybody's felt like an outsider at some point. So the irony, of course, is that we're really all still in this together because we've all had that experience some way or another. So the fact that we judge people, the fact that we, put people either on pedestals or think that they're below us, it's such nonsense.
I agree with that. And it's never been more clear to me now that we are all so connected. We have so many experiences that are the same. We've had those feelings of being the only whatever person in a room. Why do you think it's so hard for us to bridge that gap, that feeling of we're right and everything about us is right? And
so I talk about this, and I have a program I developed called Stereotype 101. And initially I took it to colleges and universities to kind of address and tackle this D&I issue with the understanding that diversity is more than what we think it is. Like it's more than just the color of our skin, right? Or our gender or our ethnicity or religion. It's so broad. It's diversity of thought, diversity of ideas, right? And in this program, I say there are 3 reasons why we stereotype. The first is that it's human nature. It kind of goes back to when we were cave people and it's survival, right? Survival instincts had to kick in so we could live. And that's why we're all still here today because our ancestors had those instincts. And that was to determine whether something or not was a threat. And back then it was, is this a physical threat, right? Like a saber-toothed tiger or a warring tribe. Now it's more, is this an emotional threat? Am I going to be put into an uncomfortable position because I can't relate to that person over there because I didn't grow up around that or know that or have heard other things, right? The second reason is why we stereotype because we've learned, we've picked it up. Do you know we are only born with 2 fears when we enter this world? Do you guys want to guess what they are?
I'm horrible at guessing.
Fear of like lack of love, like fear of being without, like love and shelter, maybe something. I'm not sure.
So that's right. The 2 fears that we come into the world with, that we as babies, as infants, right, is the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Everything else we learn to fear. From spiders to, emotional connections. All of those things are things that we learn. right? Now, well, here's the good news about that. If we learned it, we can unlearn it and learn something else. So there's a positive spin on that aspect. The third reason why we stereotype is because we have this thing called the ego, you know, or the id, and it's very powerful and it likes to be right. And if we can put somebody in their place, put them in a category, we know where we stand, right? What better way to satisfy this thing that we're sometimes letting run our lives, this ego of ours? Because if we know where someone else stands, well, then of course we know where we are. So that's part of why we do it, Dina. To answer your question of why, how does this happen? I think those are the three main reasons. It's part of human nature. We've been taught, we learned, and we have an ego that very often is running the show.
Yeah, that's true.
And our ego, and when I find it fascinating when the ego becomes the group think ego, and it's not even just like in a board or a community. We see it in our country all the time, and then just anyway. So that's a different conversation. I have a question for you. That's so you're an author, you're a speaker, but you're also a humorist, and I love this word. Will you tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit more of why humorist as opposed to stand-up comedian or comedian?
Sure. I think in simplest terms, the difference between a humorist and a comedian is a zero in the paycheck. So
I'm changing my title.
I wish I was kidding.
That's good.
As a humorist, I really, unfortunately, I don't get to do as much stand-up as I used to when I started speaking, because it's very hard to have, doing the work during the day and going out and speaking. And I do have small children, and then going and spending, Dina's been there, spending all, nights at a comedy club for 15, 20 minutes on stage. It's just, you have to weigh what's worth it. And so, essentially, I still, that's the thing. I love comedy and I love humor. And I think my gift is being able to incorporate humor into the work that I do when I'm especially taking programs like Stereotype 101 or You Can Be Perfect or You Can Be Happy to organizations and to campuses, because humor is such an incredible tool. If you can get people to laugh, oh my God. First of all, laughing is healing. It's cathartic. It's the great connector. Right? It brings people together like nothing else. And it also creates a space for people to absorb more, especially when it's a difficult conversation. Like when, everything that is going on right now between, Black Lives Matter and George Floyd and just the political division we have going on. People are just stretched and stressed to the nth degree trying to communicate. But if you can get people laughing, you can get them in a place, in a space that's neutral, so they're open to hearing another side. They're open to processing something differently or maybe for the first time that they'd never heard before. And so I just think, using humor and being able to have that gift, as you guys also do, it's such a blessing. And it should be used as such. It should be used to bring us together and help heal the divide.
That was one of the things when I started stand-up that I was like, I'm going to be open about who I am on stage. And I started when there were like 3 trans comics in the world. And so going to those clubs and performing in front of cisgender heteronormative crowds and having them respond to me in this like beautiful, amazing way and just be like, oh my God, that's so great, was empowering and beautiful. And it really does break down borders between people.
Humor is I love that you said it is the connector, because so many times in conflict management situations that I've been in, or when I'm working abroad in these communities, the thing that like expedites things in the mission so quickly is the humor. And for some reason, when I'm working out of the country, a lot of times the humor comes quickly, but we get weighted down in the States, and I'm like, okay, where's the humor? Like, where is that? We're going to find common ground there. Yeah. So, Oh, Mitch. Speaking of humor and your lived experience, I'm going to ask you something. You do not have to answer this, but
Okay.
I've dreamed about what I would do if I was ever on Fox and Friends. So, tell us.
I had to take a sip of my cider. Uh-huh.
How was that? I don't even know what specific question I want to ask about that.
No, you know what? It's okay. And I'm glad you asked me that because here's the thing. I've had multiple people ask me, why would you go on Fox and Friends? And I'll be very open with you. As far as politically, I see myself as an independent. I do not vote straight party lines. I vote for people who make sense. I vote for common sense. I wish we could bring the Thomas Paine Common Sense Party back.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I would love that.
But I also believe that if we do not reach out to each other in a respectful manner, then the voices of sanity and clarity will not be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't go on with anybody's agenda but my own. I don't go on, touting a political view. I go on to share what I believe is my truth. I'm certainly not paid to go on there and represent anything. I go on because I think that also as a Black woman, I need to be a face and a voice of a group of people in this country who may not reach those viewers per se.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And if I can be that example and they can be like, oh, okay. So not all Black people are the quote unquote stereotype we've been fed for so long. Maybe I should think differently or be more open. You know what I mean? That's a big part of why I do what I do.
Love it.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
In your book, you tell a story about Emily.
Oh, yes. That's one of my favorite stories ever.
It's so good. Will you tell us?
Does Greg know the story? Have you heard it?
No, I have not read the book yet. It hasn't been delivered yet, so I apologize.
So it's totally fine, honey. So I talk about just being kind. Like, you never know what kindness is going to do. And it's one of those, you can pay it forward and buy somebody a coffee, but sometimes kindness is just doing the right thing. So years ago in New York City, I was still working in corporate America. I was on the bus on the way home. I lived on the east side in Harlem. And I noticed this girl who was sitting in front of me. She left her phone accidentally on the seat. So she got off before I could say anything. I kind of noticed it after she'd already left the bus. And I remember thinking I can either give the phone to the driver, it may never get back to her, or I can just take it and try to return it to her. So I pick it up and I start scrolling through it, looking for it, because this was before you could really lock phones. And I'm, going alphabetically. I'm like, I don't know anybody of her friends' names. I don't even know her name. So I get to, alphabetically, and I get to Dad, D. So I call this man and I'm like, hi, sir, you don't know me, but I found your daughter's cell phone. I'll give you my information so she can reach out to me. And he was pretty rude. He goes, well, which daughter? I go, the one who lives in New York City. He goes, well, I've got 4 daughters and 2 of them live in Manhattan. I'm like, well, good for them. They're doing pretty well. I go, the one on the east side? I don't know. So long story short, he figures it out that he goes, well, why can't you call her? I go, because I've got her phone. No. So he reaches out to her, and the next day I get a call from her at work. And we arranged for her to come and pick up the phone. She was very sweet and gracious. She gave me a $25 gift card to Macy's or something. And we're just chatting in the lobby, and I shared that I was a comedian and, just something that really, she remembered it. So a couple of months later, I run into a friend of mine, a woman who she was the second old woman to own a comedy club in New York City. And Delilah, and she's like, Karith, you're not going to believe this. I met the woman whose phone you found. I was sitting next to her on an airplane. I'm like, get out of town. She goes, no. I said, because, she owns the club. So I guess she asked Delilah what she did. She's like, I own a comedy club. She's like, do you know Karith? And you know how those stories kind of spin. But this is the part that's wild, right? She says to me, you called that girl's father. She and her father hadn't spoken to one another in several years. They'd been estranged from each other for years. And him calling her was the first time they'd spoken. and years. And the reason that she was on the plane was because she was going to visit him for the first time.
Oh my
Literally, I have like chills. Your book is full of stories like this. And I look at it and I'm like, what an incredible life, you know? But we all have those stories.
Exactly. We all have those stories. We all have this. I have another one that's not in the book. I didn't even think about it. So you just said that. But one time I was in my neighborhood in New York in Harlem. I was walking my little Chihuahua. And I just happened to see this car run a red light. And it hit this woman crossing the street. And the guy pulls over and the woman, like, you know, he's like, are you okay? And there's like kind of talking, but something told me, pull out your phone and take down this license, this driver's license. Cause he's like, he stopped the car where he hit her and he said he was going to pull up ahead over and he didn't, he took off. And so thank God I remember the license plate. And so they called the cops and I said, listen, if he doesn't come back around, cause like, oh, I'm just going to go around the block. He didn't. Long story short, I give her my number and say, listen, I have the license plate of the guy who hit you. If you need me to talk to detectives, I'm a witness. I saw him run the red light. Like there was no question he ran it. So anyway, I get a call about a couple weeks later from one of the detectives on the case. They caught the guy. He was in jail. The only reason they caught him is because I took down his license plate. Otherwise, it would have just been a hit and run, unsolved. They took the lady to the hospital, and she found out at the hospital that she was pregnant.
Oh my gosh!
And she wouldn't have known if she hadn't, like, you know, she just didn't. So, but it's just like that. It's just being kind. Just being kind. It doesn't take effort. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. And
what it does is it ripples and creates situations that nobody could ever expect.
Yeah. But if I could say another thing on the kindness front, is we, you know, we think it's about being kind to other people. Like that's what makes the world better. The reality is it's about being kind to yourself. And that's not selfish. You know, self-care is not selfish. And I think people need to understand that. And if you haven't been taught that, I'm going to tell you that right now. If you haven't had people teach you that, that's part of what this book is about. Because when you take care of yourself, then you're able to take care of others and be there for other people. You know, you have to come first. And not in a selfish, self-centered, like I'm everything and the world is at my feet kind of way. It's eating the right things, getting enough sleep, not beating yourself up when an error happens. We all make mistakes. That's called this life. Like, it's not a mistake. It's a lesson. It's a life lesson.
Yeah. You said in the book that the way you treat yourself informs others how to treat you.
Absolutely.
That's not a direct quote, but
it's close enough. And you know what? Here's the thing. I had to learn that. That's not something that just like came to me, this brilliant epiphany, like, oh, I'm so brilliant and I know this already. I had to learn that through not treating myself well and then having other people in my life who did the same thing, who reflected that. I had to understand that the way I treated myself was a directive to others on how to treat me. And that took a couple of decades, to get that, to understand that fully. It took some time. It took some time. And I still have to remind myself, I got kids and a husband who also sometimes want to be like, well, no, we're not going to talk to mommy that way. And nobody's going to talk to you that way. And you're not going to talk to yourself that way.
Greg did that earlier. He was like, why are you being so violent against yourself?
Right? I mean, would you talk to people like that, the way you talk to yourself sometimes? Would you ever do that?
Never.
But the lesson is so hard to learn.
It is. It's a practice. Again, it's a practice. This is, I encourage people to read the book more than once, to, read it, set it by your nightstand. And again, pick it up when you need it, like the Bible or a fortune cookie, or, you know what I mean? Like one of those things that like, you just hear what you need to hear in that moment to get you to that next place and that next level. For sure.
I just absolutely love the book so much. And I can't wait to finish it. Your book is available on Amazon. And if everyone goes to our page after this, there is a link that posted with the link to buy Karith's book. So
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
oh my God, it was
Thank you
such an honor.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm so glad that you have a cider with you and you are weekend Karith and ready to go. So I'm here for you.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Thank you. You guys are a hoot, by the way. I wanted to be part of Hot Topics. Like,
Oh yes.
I did. I'm like, Kanye, I know. Can you believe this madness? Like, what else is gonna happen? Like, really? Like, I'm just waiting for like the tsunamis, and we've already had locusts. We need a couple more volcanoes. The asteroid. That's what's happening in August, right? The asteroid's coming.
Yes.
Right. Oh my God.
The closure happens in September, so the aliens
Right?
can come and be like, yeah. Joelle Nicole, my friend who lives in New York City, she's a comedian. She said 2020 is zany, and I was like, couldn't have said it better.
That's completely somebody. There's so many funny memes going around. Like, people are so funny, and that's another thing. I'm so glad so many people still do have their humor intact. But it was like almost like a Far Side picture, and it was an ice cream truck, and it said if 2020 were an ice cream truck, but instead it had like liver and broccoli. Like, yeah, that's
Oh my God.
Yeah, pretty much. So you can once again get Karith's book at Amazon. Once again, the link is on our Facebook. You can follow Karith on Facebook at Foster Karith, and on Instagram and Twitter at Karith Foster, and her website is karith.com. Thank you so much.
I hope we get to meet sometime in real
I hear you. That's the plan. That's the plan, my friend. I'm putting it out there that this is not permanent. This is temporary.
Yeah.
It sucks for now, but maybe this is a time to go inward and do some reflecting and growing and just supporting each other, but also taking care of ourselves.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Karith.
Have a wonderful evening.
You too, guys. I love you.
Love you.
I love her so much.
I want to have a big slumber party with so many people.
Can't even. Are you ready to go in the final segment?
Yes.
Is that really news?
Is that really news?
Is that really news?
Are we keeping with this?
Yeah. Or unless you want to go to let's go to this one. All right, everyone.
I'm micro-producing our show. Okay.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first because we each have one. Okay, ready?
I get to go first. All right. So a man finds caterpillars. A man finds caterpillars in his supermarket broccoli and raises them as his very own. What a great title. So Sam Darlaston, who is a DJ on Kiss FM UK, took these like little caterpillars out of his broccoli and was like, I'm gonna grow you. And on his Facebook and Instagram, Twitter and Instagram, it says Caterpillar Dad. And I'm like, I want to make out with him so bad. So he raised these, and now it's made a butterfly or whatever kind of winged creature that caterpillar had, and I loved it. Is that really news?
Is it really news? Did he post like pictures of them in their cocoon and like?
Well, it was. I don't know. I saw a lot of pictures, and I saw the caterpillar, and then I saw the butterfly moth-ish thing, winged creature.
Really, in retrospect, we should have had that go last because mine is just disgusting.
Okay, I can't wait.
Do you know that you can fight coronavirus with sperm smoothies? Is that really news?
It's
that. Just keep your freaky Saturday night stuff to yourself.
I mean, I got one of those in West Hollywood. I'm just kidding. Gross! I love it. Finally, what you got going on this week, Greg? Nothing. Well, I will let you know that on Thursday we are going to be having another Extra AF comedy. and Sarah Schmidt from Madison, Lauren Harsh from Chicago, Wonder Day from San Francisco, Dee Dee Steps from San Diego, and Paul Jasek from Los Angeles will be on. It'll be at 7:30 on Extra AF Comedy Facebook and the YouTube as well. So make sure that you come check that out. That's what I love about the virtual world now. We can have comics from all over the country, all over the world on our shows, which is very exciting. And then next week, we're going to have the amazing Sean Pulaski of Social Media Meltdowns.
If you haven't seen any of her stuff, check it out. She's been doing social media meltdowns during COVID. And also, she's doing with her husband these wonderful Portuguese phrases of the day. And the videos are hilarious.
I love them so much. Love her. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this week. And have a great
week.